The viewing chamber stretched 3 stories high, its crystalline walls reflecting the bioluminescent glow of the Kalthiri capital. Inside, Arya sat on the cold metal floor, knees drawn to his chest, watching the endless procession of alien visitors who came to witness the last human in existence. Magnificent specimen, a Kalthiri noble chittered to her offspring, her compound eyes fixed on Arya. To think these creatures once ruled a third of the galaxy. Arya didn't bother looking up. He'd heard variations of that statement 1,000 times in the 6 months since his capture. The Kalthiri had found him on the ruins of New Earth, scavenging among the debris of humanity's final colony. They'd treated him well enough, fed him, studied him, kept him alive. But alive wasn't the same as living. The cage was his world now, 20 meters by 20 meters of transparent walls and artificial gravity, a bed, a hygiene station, and the constant weight of alien stares. The Kalthiri had destroyed his species through calculated warfare and biological weapons, and now they kept him as a trophy. The last human, an exhibit in their grand museum of conquest. On the 7th month, everything changed. The curator, a gray-scaled Kalthiri named Thesic, approached with an unusual announcement. "The council has decided," he clicked through his translator. "You will have a companion. For enrichment purposes," Arya's heart hammered. "Another human? Impossible." They'd told him he was the last. "What kind of companion?" he asked, his voice hoarse from disuse. "Vorak," Thesic replied, as if that explained everything. "The holy beast has grown restless in his temple sanctuary. The priest believed new surroundings may calm him. And you," he gestured with a chitinous limb, "you are unprecedented. Perhaps Vorak will find you interesting." Before Arya could respond, the far wall of his cage shimmered and expanded, doubling his living space. A massive reinforced door materialized in the new section, and through it came something that made Arya scramble backward. Vorak was enormous, a quadrupedal creature standing nearly 4 meters at the shoulder, covered in midnight blue scales that seemed to absorb light. His head was reptilian but intelligent, with 6 golden eyes arranged in a hexagonal pattern. Rows of crystalline spines ran along his back, pulsing with an inner luminescence. The creature moved with predatory grace, and when he exhaled, frost formed in the air. The Kalthiri spectators pressed against the observation windows, their excitement palpable. Vorak was their deity made flesh, a creature discovered on their homeworld's most sacred mountain. For generations, the Kalthiri had worshipped him, fed him, built temples in his honor. And now they'd placed him in a cage with their greatest trophy. Arya expected violence. Instead, Vorak sat down heavily, his massive head turning to regard the human with what could only be described as exhaustion. "They cage you too." Vorak's voice rumbled directly into Arya's mind. Not words, but pure meaning translated through some kind of telepathy. Arya's fear evaporated into shock. "You can speak?" "I choose not to." "With them." Vorak's golden eyes blinked in sequence. "For centuries they have worshipped, imprisoned, paraded me like a symbol. They do not see me. They see what they wish to see." Over the following weeks, an impossible friendship formed. Arya learned that Vorak was ancient, over 3,000 years old, and possessed an intellect that rivaled any sentient species. He'd allowed the Kalthiri to worship him initially out of curiosity, but curiosity had transformed into captivity. They'd built golden chains disguised as reverence. "Your species fought them?" Vorak asked one evening. His massive form curled protectively around Arya's much smaller frame. The human had taken to sleeping against the beast's warm scales. "We tried," Arya said quietly. "Humanity was explorers, scientists, dreamers. We weren't conquerors. When the Kalthiri came, we tried diplomacy first, then defense, then..." He trailed off. "Then there was just running, until there was nowhere left to run." "They fear what they cannot control," Vorak observed. "Your kind's adaptability, creativity, unpredictability. These things threaten their rigid hierarchy. So they eliminated the threat. And now I'm a museum piece." "No." Vorak's mental voice was firm. "You are a survivor. And survival, young human, is its own form of resistance." The Kalthiri noticed the bond forming. Thesic and the other curators watched with fascination as their holy beast became protective of the human. Vorak would position himself between Arya and the viewing windows during peak visiting hours. He shared his specially prepared meals, exotic meats, and crystallized nutrients that Arya's enhanced digestive implants could process. Most significantly, Vorak had stopped his displays of divine power that the Kalthiri so craved. The priests grew concerned. The council convened emergency sessions. Their god was becoming attached to their trophy. 3 months into their cohabitation, Thesic entered the expanded cage with a squad of armed guards. The council has reached a decision. The experiment is concluded. Vorak will return to his temple sanctuary. The human will remain here alone. Arya felt his heart sink. In Vorak, he'd found something he thought lost forever: connection, purpose, hope. But Vorak stood, his crystalline spine suddenly blazing with light. The temperature in the chamber dropped 20 degrees in seconds. His 6 eyes fixed on Thesic with an intensity that made the curator stumble backward. No. Vorak's voice echoed not just in their minds, but somehow through the very walls of the facility. Every Kalthiri in the building felt it, a presence vast and ancient asserting itself for the first time in centuries. For 3,000 years I have been your symbol, your decoration, your caged god. I remained because I was curious about your civilization. That curiosity has ended. The crystalline walls of the cage began to crack, not from physical force, but from something else entirely. Vorak's will made manifest. The Kalthiri had never understood what their holy beast truly was. They'd assumed he was powerful but ultimately contained. They'd been catastrophically wrong. This human is under my protection, Vorak continued, and I have decided that I am finished with cages, mine and his. The walls shattered like ice. What followed was chaos. Alarms shrieked. Kalthiri guards rushed in with weapons that proved laughably inadequate against a creature who could manipulate thermal energy at will. Vorak didn't kill, he simply froze their weapons, their barriers, their attempts at containment. With Arya riding on his broad back, the beast carved a path through the museum, through the streets, toward the spaceport. Where are we going? Arya shouted over the wind in confusion. Beyond their reach, Vorak replied. There are places in this galaxy the Kalthiri fear to venture. Ancient places, free places. And there, last son of humanity, you will teach me about your species' dreams, and I will teach you how to ensure those dreams are not forgotten. As they commandeered a ship, Vorak's telepathic powers overwhelming the crew's minds, Arya looked back at the gleaming capital of the Kalthiri Empire. He was no longer the last human in a cage. He was the last human in partnership with something the Kalthiri had worshipped but never understood. He was, once again, free. And in that freedom, both he and Vorak would ensure that humanity's story didn't end with captivity. It would end with legends. Legends of the last human and the unchained god who taught each other what it meant to truly live. The ship pierced through the atmosphere, leaving behind a civilization that had caged both its trophy and its deity, never realizing that some bonds cannot be contained, and some friendships can reshape the galaxy itself.